The Graphic Histories Podcast.
I got bitten by a radioactive bug. I tried an experimental drug. Went up for a stroll on a gamma testing range. I found an enchanted hurricane. I made a serum that made me small. I modified the serum so it would make me tall. Radioactive isotope in my eyes. Dying alien helped me accessorize. I gained the proportion and strength of a spider. Now I'm invincible and I can fly. I lost my sight, my other senses were heightened. I'm gonna put on my pajamas and go fight crime.
Hey there and welcome to the Graphic Histories Podcast. My name is André and I will be your host. Big thanks to Uka the Mock for our theme song, Superpowers, and big thanks to you, gentle listener, for tuning in once again to another edition of the show. You know, as I was recording this intro, I had done a few versions before here and there and discovered that I have a tendency, I even noticed in the last episode when I was listening to it, to say I am your trivia host, André Myatt, because I do trivia every Wednesday night, and because of that, I sometimes, mix up in my brain what I'm doing and say trivia host, because it's sort of ingrained in me to do it that way, which is kind of strange. There's a deep fear of mine that I'm getting early onset dementia, but it's likely more explainable by the concept of this long COVID that people seem to have, where it gives you sort of a brain fog if you've had it. Like, I've never been diagnosed with COVID. I'm sure I've had it because everyone has at this point. Early on, when it first was making the rounds, I'm pretty sure I had it before we were testing and doing all that stuff. But so I don't know if that's it, if I'm losing my mind. If so, you can catalog it by listening to these episodes and watch my descent into madness. Otherwise, it could just be a delightful gaffe, as it were, so that people can enjoy. Well, today's episode features my conversation with Michael Chan. Michael Chan is an actor and who has recently starred in Star Trek Discovery in a couple episodes in Season 4, and had a short film that won a bunch of awards and some other things here and there. He's also involved with the Federation of Podcasts, in which I'm a proud partner. He has a few shows that he's involved with there, most notably the Hellbound podcast, which is a horror movie one. We talked about it during the episode, which is one I've been meaning to listen to, but haven't got around to yet. We've both sort of agreed to listen to each other's podcasts. I don't think he's listened to mine yet either, although I'm assuming he'll probably listen to this one, so at least he got a good jump on me. Generally what I do when I get into a new podcast is I'll start from the beginning and then work my way through. So currently when I'm done new episodes of shows, I go back to one I listen to that's about horror movies where they interview horror people. So when I get through that or get caught up with that one, next up will be the Michael Chan's new one, which is the Hellbound podcast, which I love the title, by the way. Very nice. I do mention that in the podcast. I did go see Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and I liked it. I would call it, people say I'm too kind sometimes with my movie reviews, and maybe they're right. I don't want to put down the work of others, especially those in a creative field. I know the people that make these movies are making billions of dollars, and all the actors are making millions and tens of millions, and nobody's too put out by the opinion of one lowly podcaster out there in the ether. But a little threadbare in that I feel like a lot of spectacle, not a lot of emotion. Like it seems like they do lay a little bit of groundwork for some emotional connections between him and his daughter, and I feel like a lot of that doesn't really pay off. I feel like the Taika Waititi model of like things being funny over actually having a lot of substance is overshadowing some of their stuff. I do like Taika Waititi. I love his stuff. However, I felt like Love and Thunder was a little more wrapped up in the spectacle and the humor than actually, doing an emotional payoff. And I feel like we get a bit of that this time. That being said, Jonathan Majors is a fantastic actor. And with not a lot on the paper, I would assume, in the script, he made that character very interesting, even though we don't know a lot about him. Kang the Conqueror has been a favorite character of mine in comics for a very long time, and I believe he is one of, if not the best Avengers villain. I mean, I am a big Thanos fan, but I never really think that he is... Thanos would be my favorite villain of all time, but I do not feel like he's truly... I mean, the films he's an Avengers villain, but he's kind of... in his run in the comics, he's sort of been a villain to a lot of folks, and just predominantly the Avengers. But Kang the Conqueror has always been an interesting character, especially with the various versions of him from different timelines, how they war with each other, how sometimes they unify, how sometimes they tear each other apart, and all of that dichotomy. It's almost Shakespearean in how it's done, and I feel as though Majors brings that sort of gravitas to this character, which is very interesting and very good. So he is fantastic, and I'm very excited to see where they go with that character and what they're going to do with that in the coming years. As we've already established that the next two Avengers movies are based around Kang and the various dynasty of Kang that is out there. So very excited to see where they're going to go with that. Fine movie. If I rate it out of 5, I give it like a 2.5. It's fine. I just feel like it visually it's beautiful, but I don't know. I feel like they could have spent a little more time on actually making there be an emotional payoff instead of just a spectacle. I've been a little hung up on the concept of spectacle because I rewatched the movie Nope again recently, which is one of my favorites, with my wife who hadn't seen it yet, and I fucking love that movie. And it really makes you, every time you watch it, and I watched the special features after she'd gone to bed, there's like an hour-long making of on the Blu-ray, which sort of goes into some of the themes and what Peele had in mind when he was coming up with it, and sort of utilizing his history in film as an actor before he became a director to sort of about a obsession with the spectacle and being seen and all eyes on us and that sort of thing. So it's very interesting indeed. And yeah, I just want to see a little more emotion. Like Nope is a masterpiece, but from the Ant-Man movie, I would have liked to see a little more emotion. I will continue to still love all these Avengers movies, and I do love them. As a comic fan, it's a great time to be into comics, and excited to see where they're going to go. But anyway, enough ranting about Ant-Man. I'm sure Disney's made a lot of money on it already, and they don't need my help to promote it. Let's get into my conversation with Michael Chan. Good conversation, good talk. I don't know him. I never spoke to him before this interview. And we are both in the same circles with this podcast, so that was interesting enough as well. But I got to know him, and very interesting. He approaches making a career in film and acting in a way that I hadn't thought about before. We kind of talked about it during the episode. So, very interesting talk. But instead of waiting a bunch or listening to me spout off some more, let's just get into it. So here's my talk with actor, podcaster, Michael Chan.
I'm probably gonna pass out.
Oh, gee. Well,
It's not over. No, I was on set until 3 a.m. yesterday.
Oh, geez. What set were
I
you?
have to wake up to take my kid to school, right?
Right. Well, we can. I got time if you want to reschedule. We don't have to do it.
Oh no. After this, I still have to drive down to Toronto to do an audition with a friend. So
Oh, my goodness.
that's the actor's life. Now you're a pro wrestler, so I'm sure you
I actually am an actor as well, so I can understand.
Yeah.
I've done some of the stuff, the films out in Nova Scotia. I've done a few parts, and then a lot of background stuff too, and a few things here and there. I was in a Stephen King movie a few years ago.
Oh, sweet.
That had a decent part in, which is pretty cool. So I know the actor's game. I mean, Toronto must be like a way bigger slug, because I imagine the opportunities there are just so often, so frequent. You have to pretty much shoot at everything to get a spot.
There is a lot of work here. Harder for people who look like me, but still.
I did watch your short film, the only one.
The Only Agent?
Yeah, the Only Agent.
Thank you for watching it.
Yeah, I was like, well, I think I have some time tonight to watch the short film. I was like, I'll check how long it is, and I was like, oh, it's 1.5 minutes long. I can totally watch this in time before the interview.
Yeah, no, it's just it's a micro, right? So
yeah, it was great. I think it's fun. Oh, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say I don't have the editing or shooting ability to actually personally make anything longer than that.
Oh, no, I think it's cool, and it's also like humor like that also kind of picks an issue to poke fun at, but it's also a kind of serious issue. Is right up my alley. Something
I do joke. I was going to say I do joke with people that essentially what I created is an award-winning festival selected TikTok.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's the way the world is headed. I mean, if you can fit it within a TikTok, then you're laughing. I mean, you're going to reach way more people that way. I mean, whether you like it or not, that's kind of the way the things are headed. Or at least it's a way to get your stuff out there to reach your audience, to get to, get to something bigger.
Just thank goodness at that point TikTok wasn't as big as it is now. so that the festival people weren't like, isn't this just a TikTok?
Is it your first question after you win the award? You're up there getting the, like, any questions? Like, isn't this just a TikTok? They just rip your award away and throw you off the stage.
I wasn't on TikTok at that point. I was a Twitch streamer who did unboxings of pandemic food. So screw you all.
That sounds interesting in itself. I'd watch that movie. If that was like a movie about a dude who did that, I'm in.
Oh, I didn't know, like, I don't know, I was just staying creative, man. And I didn't know what to do, and I wanted to be on Twitch since everyone was getting onto it, but like I didn't have the technical know-how to know how to actually stream myself playing a game. Like, I was trying to figure out OBS. I'm like, I don't know, man. I mean, my webcam's streaming, so what do I want to do? I'll just eat. So every single day I would come on, like, today I opened this granola bar. Tastes great.
And next day, response, did you have
the same thing again?
The same. It's a 12-pack. It's going to be 12 days of these granola bars.
Oh my god, the number of times I reviewed a Reese's like peanut butter granola cereal bar. It's okay.
I like the idea of somebody doing a review of the same food every single day. It's like, this is a Reese's peanut butter cup, and then saying how different it tastes from day to day, or what the differences is. I mean, that seems mundane enough that it would probably be popular. I can't imagine why not.
I did that, and it wasn't popular.
No? Oh, man.
I had like 50 followers, subscribers, whatever. That's it. And like my best view, like the most amount of viewers I ever had was actually just because some dude brought in a viewer train. Mm-hmm. There was just a group of people just hopping from stream to stream that had low counts to help.
I feel like I am getting out of touch. Like, I'm 37, and I feel like the idea of doing any of that, not the recording, like making content, I get that because I kind of do that with this, and that's fun. But the idea of like just skimming through Twitches on a content train, watching random stuff, does not appeal to me in the least. Like, I couldn't understand the impetus to want to do that for hours, or, I mean, hey, I'm no judgment. That's I
have no idea. I mean, it was nice.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like 50 people showed up, and they're like, "Hi, this is cool. Okay, we're out now."
It's not. I don't know if I could ever be one of these such. Like, I feel like I'm busy enough with the various things I do to want to jump on a train like that. But my God, that's interesting. So where did you start? Where were you? Where's your origin take place?
Wait, are we already on the podcast?
We are.
Oh, cool. I didn't know we started.
Yeah, I like to do the subtle, like, just work in a conversation style, so that way, I can catch you saying something offensive that I can use to blow you up online later. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
See, I'll just send my PR person at you.
Please do.
It'll be done.
It'll
be done.
I just like the casual conversation format, so I just kind of let it flow as such. And please don't send any scary Toronto PR people after me. I don't know if my little Nova Scotian mentality can handle it.
You have to remember, I'm Chinese, so there's also the triads.
Oh, well, look, I don't want to make stereotypical assumptions based on race, but if you're threatening the triads, then absolutely, that's terrifying to me as well. So,
oh my God, if I was a pro wrestler, I should just call myself Red Lantern and confuse people because they'll think I'm like trying to take something from DC Comics. I'm like, no, I'm Chinese, Red Lantern. Oh God, guys, come on.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Red Lantern is esoteric. The Red Lanterns are esoteric enough that the general audience may not put two and two together. There is a lot of overlap, I think, for comic fans and wrestling fans.
but I don't know if the general public would get that. Although I like the idea of you constantly have to explain it. I think that'd be pretty funny.
And then now that Sam Smith balloon outfit, that's perfect.
Right,
Except
of course.
red for me, right?
Yes. What was the video that just won all the awards he did? Devil something?
Wait. Unholy.
Yeah, that's the one, right. I was listening to
But did you see his black outfit at some red carpet?
No.
I love him, but I don't know why he chose to wear essentially an inflatable outfit. It's like this latex looking black thing where his arms and his thigh areas had these massive balloon things that made him look like a burnt turkey.
Wasn't he kind of like he's sort of gone through this whole public thing where people sort of critique him based on the fact that he doesn't have a conventional pop star body. Like he sort of looks realistic, right? Like he's not a super shredded.
Well, yeah,
and so maybe it's kind of drawing attention to that, I would guess. But I was reading, I was listening to the Savage Love podcast because I'm a fan of that show, and Dan Savage was sort of talking about that Unholy video and how, like, you know, Sam Smith sort of makes this whole case about, you know, trying to live up to these sort of impossible beauty standards that the industry gives you, and then makes a video where he's like going to a sex party and everybody that wants to have sex with him are all like models. Like there's not one chubby person or like a conventionally unattractive person in the bunch. Like they're just all like ridiculously beautiful people, and it sort of seems like he missed the boat on that one to kind of make a real stand on.
Maybe.
I don't know. Who am I to say?
The thing is, like, when he first started, he, I guess, in a way conformed to what one would expect a male, I guess, pop star would look like. You know, he had the fit body, the suits and all that, but that was never him, right? Like he's talked about that. It's like that wasn't him. He never felt right. This is him. And this was him before fame, and now this is him again.
Yeah.
So,
but it's funny that fame affords you the ability to do that. Like you need to get in the door with that. Well, no, you don't need to, but I guess maybe the industry is set up in such that you're expected to be as that way. So to get your foot in the door, to get to a point where your talent, people can recognize your talent for what it is, and then you can let yourself kind of be you. You need to get there first. If he stuck to his guns and stayed that way, he probably wouldn't have got enough attention from, regardless of his talent, from, you know, people that would book him for shows and stuff, to get to the point that he could do that. So, well,
I mean, let's talk about me. I'm not famous, but when I started in this industry, I will go back and answer your question from earlier about what my origin is. I wanted my stage name to be my name, my full name, which is Michael Chiwa Chan. But 17 years ago, having Chiwa, which is my middle name and my Chinese name, as part of my name was a problem for a lot of people. I faced intense racism entering this industry, and the beginning of my career was extremely difficult. And my middle name was mocked, it was torn at, and I was made to feel very bad about it, and to the point where I couldn't work without people commenting on it or purposefully mispronouncing it. And so when it was time for me to join a union, I had a chat with the administrator who was handling my application, because they said that although I had to register with the union as Michael Chiwa Chan, I can't register just as Michael Chan because there's more than one. My name is very common. I could be Michael Chan stage name, because our stage name, at least back then, you know, there could be multiples of us. And I had discussed with her the possibility of shortening or whatever, just different ways I could just not have to be have a generic name, one that where, like, if you look on my IMDb, I'm number 11. I'm Michael Chan 11. So there's a lot of me. I'm part of a Facebook group of Michael Chans,
Hmm.
and there is a Michael Chan born on the same day as you and year as me. Like, that's how common we are. But the administrator said to me that the best option, if I wanted to keep my name, was just to be generic Michael Chan and become the best Michael Chan, because at least Michael Chan is a name that is easily remembered, and this is a phrase that she used, non-threatening.
Oh, that's
My middle name was threatening.
wow.
So fast forward till now, 17 years later. I'm not famous, but I've made an impression on this industry to the point where I'm not going to reclaim it. I've been asked if I want to reclaim my middle name. And if I wanted to, I could, and it would not be an issue. There are lots of people now with, ethnic names, right? Not European names. And it's fine. They're doing fine. And I'm glad the industry has improved that way. But it's people like myself who back then had to endure what we endured in order to make it through the industry, survive, and push for this industry to change enough, because we have the power, because we have the reputation to fight and to be ourselves, that now people can be themselves. So yes, it does take, unfortunately, it takes working within the system, making a name for yourself within the system, to then have the ability to be more authentic to yourself.
Yeah,
It's
that's
the
the
system
tragedy
that
of
was
it, though.
built,
Like you can't come in
unfortunately.
yourself,
But
like and be you. That's
yeah,
the inherent tragedy of it. I mean, I do agree with you that it does seem like, there's a guy that's in a ton of movies named Chiwetel Ejiofor, which like isn't the most easiest name for a general European to seemingly comprehend. Although I could say it with no problem. If anybody who actually tried could too. So
yeah,
like it to me, it's just alarmingly sad that I mean, even something as short as 17 years ago, that's still an issue. That a natural name of Asian descent can be threatening in the quotes term of your the person doing the application. That's
yeah.
geez, wow. Oh, I'm sorry to go through that. It's terrible.
It's all right.
Yeah, I know, but still, it
I'm
feels like I don't know. Maybe it's
I'm glad I went through everything, because
yeah,
I am quite active in different organizations that are trying to improve this industry. And I think,
absolutely.
as painful as my journey has been, it was worth doing if the current generation and the generations beyond can have an easier and easier and more equitable time in this industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are we working for, right? Like, sure, we work for ourselves, but if we don't try to make the world a better place while we're doing all this stuff, what's the point? That's the way I see it.
No, it's a good way to look at it because I mean, especially in an industry like the entertainment industry, there's a lot of pressure, I would say, to not rock the boat in quotes, so that you don't want to make ripples because you just want to get a gig, get a good job on a movie or show or whatever, make some money, we go to the next one and keep going. So the a lot of people would fall into that and just not want to cause waves or get in or risk position in the industry because of that. So I'm very happy to hear that people like yourself are out there doing that on behalf of minority actors in the business. And I know things seemingly are getting better, but it's still a slow road. And the days of Asian actors being anything beyond a martial arts star or something seem to be in the rearview mirror, but it's still not that long ago that's the way things were. So it's still a continuous battle. I'd say on people on your part.
I mean, I still get the occasional, like, do you know Kung Fu? I'm like, dude, no, I don't. I know stage combat.
God.
Does that count? I can fake beat you up. I can fake slap you without hurting you, but as long as you pretend you're hurt, that's all good.
Well, there you go. You're halfway to being a wrestler.
Well, I mean, I could take a bump.
Excellent.
Now it'll hurt because I don't
Tuck your chin.
I don't
That's
have the
what I tell everybody.
experience. I'm sure you can body slam me. My head won't bounce on the mat too. I hope.
Tuck your chin. That's the
Yeah,
first.
no,
That's the first
yes.
lesson. Tuck your chin. No, that's cool. Yeah, I know you're a big wrestling fan as well, so that's neat as well. And you and I obviously are both part of this federation of podcasts.
We
So,
are.
It's nice that we, I don't know hardly anybody in the group besides Davin and just some people I've interacted with through the X-Rated podcast. Jamil and Dave have been on a few episodes. So
You only really know Davin. How unfortunate. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I love you, Davin.
he's the one who wrote me into this whole thing. I was just a guy doing this podcast by myself until Davin messaged me out of the blue to do the X-Men one, and now here we are, a couple years later. But no, great. So you were born in Toronto, though, right? Is that what I read?
Yeah, born and raised in Toronto by parents who came from Hong Kong back in the 70s. I went through childhood thinking I would be a doctor. I was very certain of my future growing up. I don't know what gave me that confidence as a kid, but I knew several things. One, I would get married and have a family, and two, I would be a doctor, and more specifically, a cardiologist.
As a child, you had it
Oh, yeah.
narrowed down to cardiologist already.
Those are, yeah, that was everything I ever strived for as a kid.
Now, was there pressure from your parents for this, or is this just something
Nope.
that you fell upon yourself?
And that's odd because everyone's, oh, it must be your parents. I'm like, no, I'm the one who enjoyed science. I'm the one who, my mom had a heart condition and I saw what doctors did for her, so I wanted to be like them. I was the one who begged my parents to let me learn piano. They didn't have to force me. Now, I wasn't very good because I started at the age of 13, but I'm still the one who asked for it. So I'm like reverse Asian. I don't even know what to call this. It's where like I'm a stereotype, but it's my own doing.
Yeah, it's not like it's I know I'm familiar with that stereotype, but because I've had other people on the show, creative types, comic writers and stuff of Asian descent who had similar stories, but it was always like the parents wanted them to be a doctor or something, and then going into art. So it's interesting that you fell into art, but with the intent, not with any pressure, with the initial idea to just go into that. So, and that's really sweet that you actually would notice doctors doing that for your mom and wanting to follow in their footsteps.
Yeah. And
what did your folks do? Were they
my dad's a realtor. My mom was a part-time accountant.
Oh, okay. Right on.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So yeah, no, I mean I talk about all this like reverse stereotype or whatever you want to call it, but once I wanted to be an actor, that's where things got complicated. That's where all the stereotypes came in.
Yeah.
Like the real ones.
Like your folks wanted you to have,
because like I went to U of T. I went to the University of Toronto. I studied human biology. I was a double major, human biology and psychology. Not sociology. And I focused in sociology on two things: ethnic business, the sociology of ethnic business, as well as the sociology of medicine. So yeah, I have a lot there. And I actually did end up getting my bachelor's of science degree. So I am technically a scientist. Have enough understanding to tell people that COVID is real and masks work in not this way that a lot of people try to tell you it works or it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's sad, but most people think you need to have some kind of degree to be able to make those
you didn't know me back then, but there was a point during the pandemic I was getting so frustrated with people telling me, just shut your mouth, you're nothing but an actor, that I posted a photo of myself with my human biology degree. And I was my FU to everybody who told me I didn't know what I was talking about. I'm like, I don't need this to know stuff, but just in case, this is me. Shut up.
It's funny because like the internet is full of people that need, like, especially around COVID, need evidence in quotes to believe anything, about anything. you know, and they'll believe stuff they see online that is not true, or, you know, obviously false, or whatever backs up the echo chamber they want to live in, where they think their backwards ideas are correct. But when you show them evidence that proves that perhaps you know what you're talking about more so than whatever right-wing bullshit they found online, you know, I'm sure it was easily dismissed by them, because that doesn't reinforce what they want to hear.
The other thing I always say is like, if this is some kind of massive global conspiracy, then my best friend who works in a COVID lab would be rich by now. Because he would have to have been paid off to lie to us.
Well,
which he wasn't.
Like, I think it was John Oliver who said it, and this is one of my favorite things to reference when it comes to this stuff, is conspiracies exist. And we know they exist because eventually
of course
they're found out. And they're found out because someone talks. And there's a theory, or not really even a theory, it's kind of been proven, but like they can prove with conspiracies and how long they get hidden for, that the length of how many people are in on them drastically shortens how long the conspiracy will last. So something like COVID, in which millions of people would have to be in on it, like doctors, medical professionals, governments, everybody, like the fact that they could globally do all this, and to what end? Like what did they benefit from it? Like what would they have gained?
Some kind of new world order, apparently.
Yeah, but the new world order is putting robots in our vaccines to track us, when everybody carries phones with them, and you could track 90% of the world by just doing that anyway, that they're doing anyway. Like, it's a really expensive way to put, you know, micro technology in everybody, which would probably cost a lot of money.
I half wish all the people who keep arguing with us online would just smash their phone already. Not only will they be reinforcing their you know, conspiracies, we can actually stop hearing from them because they have nothing to post with.
Yeah, that would be ideal. But it's so alarming to me that they'll believe one thing but not, you know, like, it's just, I don't know. I think people just want to feel like they know something more than other people. Like, it makes them special to have the inside scoop on something.
Yeah.
Like, everyone kind of wants to be unique or be seen as unique, I guess. And holding on to these things makes that seem like they know more than someone else, and maybe that's why they hold on to it. I really wish I had a better answer than that, but that's all I can kind of come up with.
I do find like more conservative leaning politicians tend to try to appeal to a base that is lower class, like a lower in class, lower in income, because their struggles are so great that they're feeding them things. Like, they're not stupid people,
No,
but
they're frustrated.
They are being fed, I don't know if this is the word populist lies, like just things that sound good but really it's bad for them.
Yeah, and it's picking something that, like, it's appealing to marginalized people, that, and giving them something, you know, it's picking something that they can make an enemy out of that benefits the person. Like, I don't feel like most of these politicians have really believe it. I don't think Trump really believes half the things he said.
No, I don't believe it. And neither do the people at Fox News. I fully believe that.
100%. Yeah.
It's all a character.
Yeah, they're all actors, really. But the thing to me is, like, I don't know if what's worse, being racist or pandering to racists. Like, you know, like the idea that you know better, but you still choose to do that because you'll make money or get what you want, I guess, attention or whatever. The fact that you would actively choose that seems monstrous to me, worse than just being ignorant, not knowing better, or, you know, at least not having the experience to know better.
Yeah.
So,
well, at least like people who are racist with enough exposure,
yes,
can probably come around.
Well, one would hope. The idealistic person in us would hope.
Yeah, I mean, there was that dude in the States who, like, he was black and he went to the KKK, and I think he converted like over 200 members out of the KKK. Right? Forgot his name.
They made a movie of it. The Black Klansman. He started as a no, that wasn't that one. That was a different one. But no, I think you're right. He went and did a show or something where he interviewed all these Klansmen, and as they got to know him, he like talked them out of being in the group.
Yeah. So really, it's just, I've always believed that the more exposure and the more understanding you have of quote unquote the others, the more you'll realize they're just like you.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, Hollywood does this too, but almost every story about, and real life stories too, about someone that turns it around is generally when they get to know somebody. They never really knew somebody that was black, or knew someone that was Asian, or knew their families, or knew their customs. They just were fear mongered to by someone else, either their parents or a social group or whatever.
Yeah.
So when they finally get to know them and then see that they're just like us, or themselves, they have issues, they have family problems, they have the goals they want, whatever. That seems to be what turns it around.
Hmm.
But yeah, I can't remember who it was. Maybe somebody said like the cure for racism is travel. If everybody traveled around the world a bit, you'd probably change your backwards opinions pretty fast when you see how other people live. You realize it's not all that different from the way you do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So when you said, "Mom and Dad, I'm giving up medical school and becoming an actor," how did that conversation go?
Well, I didn't give up medical school. I never
I see.
went.
Sorry, when
I did. I did. I
you have
did.
to away
Okay.
from it.
So, second year of university, because I've always done stupid voices.
Mhm.
So I had these friends. They were in game development, like in the program, and they have to make games as assignments, and they're like, "Can you want to put some of your stupid voices in our game?" I'm like, "Okay." So I don't know, just something clicked, and then by third year, I was like, "Oh no, I think I want to pursue something like this." So I tell my parents, I'm like, I am not dumb enough in my opinion, to give up my degree. Like I've spent a lot of time on this, and from a practicality standpoint, it's good to have the degree in case I need to fall back, right? I was, I understood how hard it is to be an artist even back then. Um, Up to a point, like I knew I needed something there in case it didn't work out. So I did finish my degree. But my parents said, like, on top of all of that, I had to, like, basically prepare myself even more. So my dad's a realtor. He said, I want you to get your real estate license. Okay, I did that. We want you to take the MCAT in case you do want to go to med school in the end. Did that. But also take the LSAT in case you want to change courses and become a lawyer. Sure. I took the LSAT.
Oh my god!
And an SAT in case you want to go study in the States. Sure. Took that.
My
And
god,
so,
that's a lot of hurdles. Holy crap!
yep. My parents, now my mom was always more supportive, but I understood what they were doing.
Yeah,
They were seeing just how committed I was to wanting to do this. So they put a bunch of very difficult things in front of me and said, "You do all this, and then we'll support you." So I said, "Okay," and I went and did all that. I'm stubborn too, so I did all of that, and I'm like, "Now can I go to film school?" So I went to the Toronto Film School, which was in the CBC Building, and that's where I started. I was like one of the more ambitious ones. I was in the acting program, but I like volunteered for the producing programs and all that. So I got to, not only was I learning to perform, I was actually performing outside of class. And I needed support from my parents because there was no way I was going to work very much while I was there for 2 years, because I just really wanted to push as hard as I could to learn everything that I could as fast as I could, which again, I was my lack of understanding of acting in general, but it doesn't matter. That was how I thought about it. And then I like had this weird plan. It was like, if I don't have a stable acting career by the time I'm 30, I quit.
I think every actor goes
um,
through that, or gives himself that sort of ultimatum.
yeah, yeah. And so anyways, I went quote unquote professional, non-union professional, around 17 years ago. And was predominantly at first a voice actor. I did a lot of commercials and a bit of voice, a bit of not animation, but like audiobook, but like character voices and stuff. I also did some theater. I was a theater actor, and then outside of all of that, I did background work on large union sets to learn the industry, and then basically got myself to the point where I had like 2 pages of credits, thinking that was enough, and I joined a union.
As a background, like
No. I've never wanted to join a union as a background actor. I joined as a principal actor.
yeah.
So I had to basically audition for union productions and get 3 permits,
Yep.
meaning book 3 roles, having beaten actual union actors to get them.
Yeah, it's a weird I'm in the union as well. It takes it takes time, and it's weird. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm not the best. Like I just got on a TV show, and then I was in a movie that gave me enough days on set, which is quite a few, to get all the credits.
So you got in from background?
No. I got in from getting three positions.
Okay.
Yeah, the first was just on a TV show, and then I landed that role in that movie, and that was like several days. I think it was like 10 shooting.
Oh, that's what you meant by days. Okay.
Yeah. So just like it was enough of to push me into the realm of being able to be a union actor. So yeah, I'm still in the union.
Because I'm a producer now, and
Nice.
I had actually worked, like, we produced a proof of concept that had enough days that one of our union apprentice members got 2 credits, and so was able to get their full, because they already had one, so now they're a full member.
Nice. You can help someone out in that regard as well. Not help out. Obviously they earned it, but it's just it's nice that you can give those opportunities to people yourself after having to get through them yourself, like as you were going through it. It's a weird process. It takes forever for some, and then super easy for others if you just luck into something like I did. So
I guess that's my origin story. I got bitten by a radioactive acting bug in university, shocked my own parents, and then just stuck with it for 17 years.
Yeah. And I mean, how has the journey been? I see you have a decent amount of credits on your IMDb there, and a nice little reel.
The journey was like, I mean, outside of the racism,
I feel like if you have a title for an autobiography, that should be it. Just the journey was good outside of the racism.
It's okay. So many of my teachers over the years have told me it takes 10 years just to make an actor. Not to make a good actor, to make an actor. I did not understand that until I passed that point. It's not easy. And sure, you'll have the occasional actor here and there who like comes out like right out of the gate, they're like booking left and right, and they're hot, and it never ends. But those are rare.
Yeah, and usually it's because they're like impossibly tried. Like they have some edge. It's not just a person who's a good actor. It's like they're like a super young, usually, which means because any movie that needs a kid actor, if you're a good actor at a young age, you can almost assuredly you're going to do well, or you're like super attractive or some other thing. Some heat from something else, but it's very rare that just an average Joe that's a good actor can really skyrocket.
Well, yeah, no, I have a friend. He's like 10 years younger than me, and he graduated from theater school, and because one of his teachers really liked him, they're with Noble Kaplan Abrams, and recommended him, and he got himself one of the top agents in Canada. And next thing you know, he's in a lot of big shows with very good roles, and it has never stopped for him. Like, he's green as hell, but he is insanely talented, insanely good looking, and what can you say? Like, he has all the luck in the world. But luck really is just, if presented with opportunities, the ability to actually capitalize on it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he had a million opportunities thrown at him, and he's good enough to capitalize. So, but I always tell people, don't look at him or anyone like him who succeeds that quickly and say, well, that's just going to be my trajectory too.
Yeah.
Because if that's what you think it's going to be, and I've known so many people throughout the years who thought that, and either they're not here anymore or they're humbled and still here, that, you know, there is enough out there to counter the point that you know, you're just going to be a star like this.
No, it's not. There's so many factors, and people like that's like saying, well, George Burns smoked every day until he was 100, and he, you know, so I should be able to smoke and I won't get cancer or die. It's just that, like, there's so many factors that are involved to get that. And like, I mean, it's so funny the fact that we even have terms like character actor is what applies to me. That it's like you have people out there that are really good actors, but become character actors because they're not attractive like conventionally, or you know, or have something about them that makes them not look like some kind of a model, which is why they're, you know, in quotes, character actors. It's just such a weird, like, usually they're good at playing characters, and that's because they need to have something defining about them, which is where the term comes from. But I always find, like, the fact it's not just acting. If it was just acting, then, you know, there's so many people that are, you know, supermodels that should be in every movie because they're amazing. Like, you know, it's like, and then all these movies about Joe Schmo who gets thrown into some kind of situation won't look like a supermodel anyway. I always find that hilarious when you watch a show or a movie and everybody's like a model, and it's like just a bunch of people living in a small town. Honestly, a movie gets so many more points for me when they look like real people, like they actually have actors that do, or like, and you're like, yes, thank you, finally, like this is something that looks like it's lived in, or like in a real world setting, and not, you know, ever Chris Pratt's like the guy, the everyman. I'm like, what? Okay, you know, like, or you know, Chris Evans, any of the Chris's, Chris Evans, or
I mean, Chris Pratt used to be a lot physically closer to, you know, the quote unquote everyday person. But
yeah, well, when he was on Parks and Rec the first few seasons, he was kind of a dumpy dude, and he was hilarious.
I mean, if you're gonna be Star-Lord, you're gonna have to, you know, shred and then bulk, right? Like you have to. And then
you'll have a team that will do that for you. Like, I mean, obviously it takes work, but Marvel will give you a nutritional panel, a nutritionist, a workout guy, and a chef that'll make all your meals. They give you it's still hard work, but everything they can do to help will be given to you, which is way easier than the average person just trying to make it work in between their life.
But Chris Pratt is, I mean, personality wise, a little bit more everyman.
Oh, for sure.
Which is why people see him that way, right?
Yeah. No, that's true.
And then nowadays you have like Brendan Fraser. Well, it was why people liked him back then. Even, you know, like obviously he's always been gorgeous, but it's the personality, right?
Yeah. No, and that the charisma is a huge part of it. Yeah, huge part of it.
But no, it's you know, 10 years gave me the experience, even though I didn't have a lot of work. But gave me enough experience from all the auditions, all the training, and just realizing things like, for example, that my previous agent was not good for me. All these little things here and there. An actor isn't just the skill, right? Isn't just the ability to act. It's also the business half of it, to understand the industry, understand how to navigate things, and then understand how to try to build a career. Because if all you are is talent, you're probably not going to make it. And so yeah, my first 10 years was just, it was a lot of struggle, and then, you know, eventually I'm like, okay, what do I need to do to turn things around? You know, I was already doing all the training. I was already trying to be proactive in creating opportunities for myself and networking, and eventually I found myself the right agent, someone who understood how to market me and to be a partner, because your agent should not be, you don't work for them and they don't work for you. It's supposed to be a partnership. That's when it's the best. And I finally found one, and then things turned around.
It's on the roster opening up.
But even then, when I say turn around, it was just I went from one edition a month to like 3 to 7 a week.
Oh, excellent.
And that's where I built myself over the last like 4 years into the career I have now.
Yeah, which seems to be taking off, you know, like
I would hope so.
Yeah. Well, I know obviously since you're involved with podcasts relating to Star Trek, it must have been a bit of a dream come true to get a position on that show or on Discovery.
Yeah,
How did that
it
come
was. I mean, I made a TikTok about this, but to sum up how that happened was when I started as an actor, I didn't have big, lofty goals, right? When I talked to my agents, previous and now, of like what my goals were, it was just, I want to book. End of story. Is there stuff I prefer? Yes, TV and film and voice acting. I'll do commercials if I have to. And that was it. But when Star Trek came along, when Discovery showed up in Toronto, I'm like, oh, well, crap. Now I have a goal. So Star Trek became my goal, and it was like a 2-year process of building a resume, a reel, and a body of work that proved that I could be someone that they would want. So trying to target roles that were, you know, like cops or more procedural type characters, focusing on trying to get me on the show Mayday, for example. That's the
Interesting. I've never looked at it that way. Like, I mean, obviously out here, there's just so like, you know, there's maybe 10 productions that come through a year. So it's not like there's that, but I never thought about targeting your experience. Like, that's a very interesting method to like, if you want to get on Star Trek, then to target other things that will put you in an authority role.
I mean, if all I do is comedy,
yeah,
for example, I'm not saying I won't get on Trek, but there's definitely a lot less on my resume that would make them go, well, why would we even want to see this person for an audition? It took me 2 years of building a resume and everything for the casting director to even start looking at me. I had 0 auditions for Discovery, you know, when I started on this journey. And my previous agent, because Discovery showed up basically in my last year of them, they laughed. They're like, yeah, everyone wants to be on Discovery, Michael. So yeah, don't get your hopes up. I'm like, wow. Yeah, I'm leaving. My current agent, when I was interviewing with them, said, well, yeah, you're going to have to work. You're not going to get an audition for a while. Hopefully the show won't get canceled, and eventually you'll get your audition. And even then, it's going to take a lot more work. I'm like, as long as we have a game plan, I'm down. And if the show gets canceled, so be it, whatever. Right? At least I tried.
Well, I think you've proven before that you know, as you said, you were stubborn. You know, you're willing to clear any hurdle put in front of you to get to what your goal is. So it just seems like another mini test, like the one your parents put in front of you.
Yeah, but yeah, like my whole resume and my original like resume and reel that I started building in my first 2 years with my current agent were very like Trek-ish, in like towards that end, but also got me booked in things that, you know, were in that area. Like I'm in Blood and Treasure. I'm a cop, for example. I'm in Mayday. I'm an investigator. I'm a security person as well. I'm in 2 episodes. So yeah, that's how I came up, and then eventually I booked. But that process, the auditioning process for Discovery was just, you know, I started auditioning for season 3 and didn't get on the show until season 4.
Wow. How many times did you audition for other roles before you got the one you got?
Pardon me?
How many auditions did you go through in total before you got?
I'm NDA'd. I can't talk about what I
Oh,
auditioned for.
no, of course, never mind.
No, it's
Yeah.
fine. I can't talk about numbers or anything. I'll just
Right.
say that I started in season 3 and ended up in season 4. That's as far as I can say.
Wow.
But there were a lot,
Wow.
and I've come close. I've cried every time that I didn't get a role, whether it was close or not. I almost gave up. Like at one point, I was like, I can't do this anymore. But my wife was like, don't give up. You know you shouldn't give up.
Wow.
So I was like, how much longer do I need to keep proving that I can be in this? And you know, not have a more well-rounded resume and reel and everything. And but no, like I stuck to it and got it. And then now, like after that, I was like, okay, let's branch. So now I'm a lot more well-rounded. Since
Wow,
that,
good thing you have a supportive partner, because that's also can be a big hurdle with people in the arts industry.
oh yeah.
Where did you meet her at?
How did I meet my wife?
Yeah.
At a Halloween party.
Oh,
And this is before I went to film school.
wow. She's been along for the whole ride.
Because like everyone thinks either I met her at U of T because we both went to U of T, or I met her as a realtor because we're both realtors. But no, she's a realtor because I'm a realtor.
So when you were clearing those hurdles to go to film school, she was doing that with you? Or part of that with you?
She was supportive of it, yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But no, how far do I want to go back on this? So I've been going to conventions since 1999. I started cosplaying in 2004, and I was a competitive cosplayer. I did masquerades and I won a lot.
So
Through that,
cosplaying as predominantly, was it all Star Trek stuff, or?
I know I didn't actually start cosplaying Star Trek until I got on Star Trek.
No, there you go. At least you had the cred to back it up then.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
No, I did mostly anime stuff.
Okay, cool.
And like my first cosplay was Seto Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually, my first 3 cosplays were different Kaibas, like different outfits like that he had from Yu-Gi-Oh! And I started competing as Kaiba, and then I moved on from there. But in 2004 there was a Halloween party at the Japanese Cultural Center, and I was cosplaying as James from Pokemon, and I had purchased a very large fishing net that I called the Pokemon Catcher 3000. And I was there with my buddy Jamil, and we were just like going around, and all of a sudden at the same time we pointed towards the lobby and said, oh my god, there's an Ash Ketchum. Sorry, I'm gonna take a drink of water.
No problem, do the same.
So the Ash Ketchum had their back to us, and they were on their cell phone. And so well, Jamil is a lot more charismatic than I am. He's actually my quote unquote podcast daddy. He was podcasting and then introduced me to the idea of it, and then eventually.
I assume this is the Jamil I'm familiar with that's been on the X-Men show.
Oh yes,
yes,
yes. He's also in the Federation.
Like
he's my podcast daddy.
Oh yes, yeah.
I
like this.
Well, yeah. I say it that way because it's so dirty.
Yeah, it does sound rather dirty, but I like it
extremely.
That way. Yeah.
But yeah, like so he started like hyping people up because I was like bouncing around. Mm-hmm. You know, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna capture your Pikachu. You know, like I was just going crazy, and then he was like hyping everyone up, and so everyone in the lobby area started kind of moving to the sides, clearing the way. while this Ash Ketchum was on their anyways. So after they hung up, they turn around, and I run like at a full speed run at this Ash Ketchum, and they had a Pikachu, I was screaming that I was going to capture their Pikachu, right? And then out of nowhere, this dude dressed up as Trunks from Dragon Ball Z with a sword jumps in front of me and is like, "That's my best friend. You're not going to go anywhere near them." And what ensued was essentially the worst sword fight you can ever possibly see, where him and I were just swinging, like I was swinging my fishing net and he was swinging his sword, and we're just like whack, 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 whack all over the lobby. And I don't know, it got really out of hand. Like a dude threw a Pokeball at me on the sidelines, and I like swatted it out of the way. Another dude had glow sticks attached to a sword. He came out and like, I don't know, he crashed into the Trunks dude and me, and then all the glow sticks exploded everywhere off his sword. It was chaos. And in the midst of this, the Ash tried to tiptoe away, and everyone it was so chaotic that I think no one was really paying attention, but I was. So eventually I like, was fighting my way backwards until I got next to them and then caught, like, instead of Pikachu, I caught the Ash in my net. And found out they were a woman.
Oh,
And
my God, this is your meeting story? This is crazy.
That's how I met my wife.
Wow. That's
and we were both dating different people at the time.
Oh wow. This is like this needs to be a movie. I feel like this is a life affirming.
Like I was actually also at this event with my girlfriend at the time, who abandoned me to go off and do her own thing. And my wife Jessica's boyfriend had abandoned her too. Now, not that we both knew any of this when we met, but basically 1 year later we were dating.
Wow, that's awesome. That's huge. That's incredibly cute. God.
Now, if I scared Snow White at, like, in Orlando at Disney, like the dinner Snow White, the one who comes to your table, she's like, "Oh, how did you meet?" And I'm like, "I caught her in my net." Oh, that's sweet. Hi.
Yeah, that's right. I have another net. Yeah. That's
Jess
amazing.
was mortified when I did that.
Oh, that's great.
Just the way I said it. It's just like I caught her in my net. Deadpan.
She can't escape me now.
Poor Snow White actress is like, what did I just get myself into? I gotta get myself out of this. Okay, improv, go.
I imagine those people working at Disney must have seen everything under something far worse than that. I'm sure at some point in their
pretty sure there's some footage of me on their security system. Just remember this guy.
Yeah, you see him with a net. Get him out of here. That's right. So yeah, tell me about your other podcast, because I am a huge horror fan as well. And when I found out that you do a horror podcast, I told Davin of all the podcasts, because I love Star Trek as well. I'm not a massive Trek guy. Basically, my favorite series was Deep Space Nine, and that's still to this day the same. I do tune in, and I have watched Discovery. I'm a little behind, but I haven't, like, so a lot of the stuff based around the show, some of the other podcasts are like Star Trek and reality TV, two things that I'm not super, like. Star Trek is something I'm into, reality TV not so much. But
yeah, I'm not into reality.
Yeah, and me neither at all. But when I saw there's a horror one, I was like, well, that is totally up my alley. I'm a big movie guy, and I like horror movies as well. So yeah, tell me about that show.
So the Hellbound podcast,
great title, by the way.
Pardon me?
Great title.
Oh, thank you. But it's co-hosted by myself and Alexander Blackburn. Alex is from the UK. He is a filmmaker, editor. He does incredible work over there. And basically I met him during the pandemic when he created a online film festival. And I submitted one of my films to his festival, and then we just got to talking. I had a completely different podcast back then. Basically, it was like eating food, introducing people to food to eat in and around Toronto, while also interviewing people who are from in and around Toronto.
Mm.
And but yeah, like, so I was doing that podcast, and he started doing a podcast for his film festival where he interviewed filmmakers. So I ended up in an interview for that too. And over time, Alex also created the Hellbound Film Festival, and we had become good enough friends that he asked me to be the kind of like community producer for the festival, where I basically found ways to interact with the horror community and encourage them to participate or watch our festival, but also like I came up with things like, for example, the art and cosplay showcase.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked people to please submit photos of your work, or if you had a music video, submit that. And when we had like the kind of like the festival online show on YouTube that was live, during intermission, we actually had a whole segment where we showcased all the stuff that people submitted to us.
Mm-hmm.
So like that was my job. But my podcast, my original one, eventually ended at episode 50. And then Alex one day came to me and was like, I've been really thinking about doing a horror podcast, and I would really I would love for you to co-host it with me. I was like, oh my god, that yes, of course I would. I love horror. It's like my favorite genre. So yeah, that's how it all started. And it's not just horror films, it's horror everything.
Oh,
Like
okay.
films, TV, comics, novels, toys, board games, everything. Sure, most of our stuff is movie reviews because
That's the
that's what we
easiest way
love.
to do one, yeah. And also, like, to read a novel to review is gonna take some time.
Yeah, but like occasionally I'll unbox like a horror toy or something, or I've talked about my horror clothing that I have, some of my shirts, the board games. I have a lot of horror board games.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Nice. I love Zombicide. I know a lot of people are like, man, there's dice, but I'm like, no,
I love
that's cool.
Zombicide. I've sadly kickstarted, not sadly because I do like it, but I've kickstarted several of their ones. I actually just kickstarted that Crazy Marvel Zombies one that they did, and I got all of it. It hasn't come yet, but
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
scared
waiting
when the
for mine
box
too.
arrives. Oh, did you get the Galactus and everything?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I know. I know. Yeah.
So
It's like my wife's not around, is she? Yeah, no. Same with me. I love Marvel stuff. I'm a huge comic nerd, and big horror guy as well. So that's cool.
yeah, like I've stopped buying board games. Like we overdid it, my wife and I.
Mhm.
And me especially with Kickstarter. And then so I promised to never buy any more board games unless we talked about it. However, the one agreement we have is for Kickstarter, I will only Kickstarter Zombicide because it is literally my favorite board game series. Like I'm in love with it. I have
It's
every
great, and it's very accessible and easy to play with like newbies as well. So
oh yeah.
yeah, that's what I love about it. I got the Wild West one, which came in recently, and
Yeah.
the previous one, the medieval one, the green.
You have the medieval one. Do you have the space one?
Does the space one? No, I only started to get into it. I think like I have the original one, and I got the Green Horde one, and then the Wild West one. Oh, I got the Night of Living Dead one as well. Yeah, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I'm well on my way. I feel like I may have to. Well, I don't know. We'll see what happens after I get the Marvel one. I feel like that one's gonna take over my life for a while. But if you had a favorite, do you have a favorite horror movie? I know like trying to pick one is tough.
Dawn of the Dead.
Excellent. If I did, I'd say that might be my second. It's up there. I love it dearly, and I have a friend who would definitely say it's there first. So I'm surprised. If Zombicide did a Dawn of the Dead one, I would have to get that. That's for sure. But for me, it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Wait, they did.
Not Dawn of the Dead. They did Night of the Living Dead.
Sorry, never mind. Yes.
Yeah, if they did a In the Mall Dawn of the Dead one, I'd be totally down for that one.
Yeah. I also kickstarted Day of the Dead one. I think because original Zombicide had the mall expansion.
That's true. Yeah,
So
they're
I
already
think
kind of there. Yeah.
that's kind of the closest we're gonna get.
Ah, well, that's fine. I'll take it. Sweet. Very cool. Yeah, no, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is my go-to for probably if I had to pick a favorite horror movie. But that's just because I really like the tone and the feel of that movie. It just makes you feel dirty from the beginning, and it just makes you sit in the ick all the way through till the end, which is still great. It's definitely fantastic. But yeah, Dawn of the Dead. I'm a Romero zombie guy too, and big fan of that as well. So
Yeah, zombies were like my in for
Yeah.
horror.
Really?
I didn't like horror until that. So I think my parents, you know, you have semi-conservative Asians, and here they are subjecting their you know, not even 10-year-old child to Hong Kong horror films, and they are terrifying.
Oh, really? Like what, for instance?
Well, I mean, like, I don't know any of the names, but just I know the type of entities that show up in them. I am like
the yokai
definitely
sort of stuff,
scared
like that
of
old stuff, like 70s stuff, or like
everything.
oh wow, okay. Your parents are
They
watching this?
watch
That's
everything. But I think I continue to be very afraid of ghosts dressed in like Chinese magistrate garbs. Like that, just the idea of that terrifies me. I'm afraid of Chinese hopping zombie vampires.
That's an interesting tradition that not a lot of people that aren't into horror don't realize. That like when the Asian cinema was doing vampires, they had these older myths and traditions that bled into it, where they like danced, kind of, they like hopped.
They hop, yeah.
Yeah, which is it's kind of off-putting if you're not familiar with it the first time you see it, but it is kind of a weird, creepy take on it. That's something that American audiences never really done.
Yeah, well, at least you can technically stop them.
Yeah,
using the well, you'll need best way to put it is like a blessed prayer paper thing that you stick to their forehead. But you know, these films always find ways for those things to get blown off or something.
Yeah, of course. Otherwise, it ends pretty quickly. Otherwise,
yeah.
well,
I always tell people, I'm like, if these things came here, we're all dead because we have no Chinese monks capable of fighting them off.
That's an interesting idea too. It's like it's kind of like 30 Days a Night, where like the vampires go to like a town where they have daylight for 30, or like where it's dark for like a month. The idea that like Asian monsters come here where nobody's equipped, like, or some super white normal town, like, you know, where like no one's equipped to deal with it because they have no idea what the customs or traditions are to stop it. Like it's quite easy, but they just have no idea. Like
they made one.
Oh,
my
really?
friend Rhett Morita, he's Japanese, but he was in it.
Oh,
he was one of the hopping vampires.
Oh, really? That's a very interesting idea.
And it was cheeseball. Like it was really cheesy. I forgot the name of the movie, but it's old.
It'd be an interesting concept too, like even like a monster squad where the kids have to learn Asian monster traditions, like yokai, demon monster things, and like all that sort of stuff, just to battle them because they have no idea.
Well, the only reason why I even know about this film was because I was telling Rhett, because I have been attempting to write one about the hopping vampires, about how it's exactly like you say. Basically, one gets brought here, it's awakened, but now it's like biting people of different ethnicities, right? Because this one's Chinese, but like the people around it aren't just going to all be Chinese. There will be some Chinese because they're the ones who helped brought it over. I was thinking like a museum curation thing, you know. They didn't know what they really had. But yeah, like, and then so now the jokey part of me wants to have it so that when people transform into the hopping vampires, they don't just like take on like the pale bluish skin and then get all rigid and start hopping. All of a sudden their clothes magically transform into Chinese magistrate clothes as well. So you have like all these people of different ethnicities, but in the same outfit, and they're like hopping around. It's the most ridiculous. It is like the way I've been writing it over the years. It's horror comedy.
Yeah, like in modern society, in modern horror world, to do the hopping vampire and not kind of poke fun at it would be I don't think you could get away with doing it seriously, and people wouldn't find it somewhat humorous.
And
I love the idea that like even how like all those movies like Near Dark or any of these ones where people start becoming vampires, they're slowly like becoming more sensitive to light, the teeth are sharper, the blood, they're eating like raw meat or whatever. Like the idea that you just slowly start kind of hopping, like you're not quite already hopping, but like maybe you walk and you do a little skip and you're like, what the hell was that? And then like eventually you're just full hop mode.
but the funny thing is there is a character in my script that is based on actually a real life person. So I have a colleague he's a little older, and to stay fit in his age, he like does dancing, but he also has started learning like Shaolin Kung Fu.
Mm.
And so, you have this realtor dude. You would never expect that he knows Shaolin Kung Fu. Anyway, so like in my film, it's kind of the same thing. Like an older person who's the parent of one of my characters is going to be like, "What? Well, I know Shaolin Kung Fu. Dad, when did you learn Shaolin Kung Fu?" "Son, I've been taking it for like the last 5 years. Like maybe if you visited more, that kind of dynamic." And then he's like, "Man, I never thought like any of this. I thought it was just like, theory and stuff." So you see this old man like coming up with all the papers for people to put on their foreheads.
That's awesome. I feel like you're stumbling into like a kind of fun Big Trouble in Little China, but with hopping vampires kind of feel. This sounds like
That's where I'm going. I feel
well, I'm in for it. I'm 100% in for it.
Thank you. I'm glad someone's excited.
I will hire me.
I've only told like 3 people because I don't. It's hard because it takes a lot of research, because even though I am Chinese, I'm born here, right? So I'm gonna have to. There's a lot of research to be done on.
Well, I'm sure your parents will sit you down and be like,
and
"Here's the history of hopping vampires."
Yeah.
Like it's gonna take a lot of work. That sounds amazing. Oh man, super cool. So what's can you talk about any projects you're on right now or anything that's coming up? I assume you're
yeah, so what's already out is I have a small role in the 4th movie of a series of movies called The Love Club. It's on the Women's Network, and basically it's like a romantic comedy films. There's 4 of them. Last Friday the first one came out. It's every single Friday for 4 weeks.
Oh, cool.
There will be a new one. So it follows a group of 4 like best friends. All of them have like some, I guess, romantic tragedy. And then each film follows one character as they kind of bond with their girlfriends over their unfortunate happenings, and then fall in love.
Yeah.
So I'm in number 4, which is called Tara. So yeah, that's
nice.
That's really exciting for me. If you haven't seen it already, last year there was a film called Swindler Seduction starring Colton Haynes. Some people will know him as Roy Harper from Arrow.
Oh yeah, I do know him.
Yeah, so I'm in that. So that's great. Blood and Treasure season 2 came out end of last year on Paramount Plus. It was delayed for years. Like I shot my footage in the January of 2020.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so the pandemic delayed the post-production of it, but it's out now. So Blood and Treasure season 2, and I can't say much, but I do have a TV show that hopefully will come out sometime this year on YTV.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Cool. Well, I'll look forward to that.
Thank you.
Oh, and well, thank you so much for being in the show, Michael. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely, anytime. And I would like to, if you guys ever have guests on the horror podcast, I would love to come on sometime, because
oh my god, yeah,
I can talk horror all the time.
Love to have you.
Oh, dude, I could rap horror all the time. Davin's been trying to get me on his other movie podcast because I'm a huge movie guy. I have a busy schedule, but I'm also like, how long are these things? He's like, I don't know, like 2.5 hours. I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I can't. Like, he's like, we try to keep it to an hour and a half, and then I look at like the last episode, it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I'd like to someday, but I just don't have the time. I do stage acting as well, and I'm in a play coming up, so we got rehearsals.
Congrats.
So that sort of stuff too. Oh yeah, it's just community theater that's kind of what got me into acting when I moved here when I was 18. So, and that kind of transitioned into the other stuff. But it's kind of now a dream of mine to I just did a stage version of Frankenstein last year, which is like the one of my
Ooh.
favorite. It's a very literal adaptation of the book, so it was very real. If you ever read the book or saw a literal, Kenneth Branagh's movie was kind of close. The that idea. So, and that was kind of always a dream of mine to do, and I got to play the creature, which is great. And I co-directed it too. So, but another dream of mine next is to do like some kind of a small movie, like a short film or something like you had done, and just do something to keep your hand in acting and doing what you can. So
I
I got a
have
couple
short-
auditions too coming up, so they're all film ones out here.
Go kick ass, man.
Yeah, I'm working on it. I do like, I guess you're all in person auditions again in Toronto, are you?
I mean, they are back, but not the way they used to be
really?
because self-tapes are so convenient.
Yeah.
A lot of smaller roles and first editions are basically all
Yeah, that's
self-tapes.
all it's been here. Like literally everything has been self-taped. So
Yeah.
I got a
Like
couple-
if it's a bigger role and there's a callback, probably it'll be in person
Mm.
or it's on Zoom.
Oh, yeah.
Commercial callbacks generally are on Zoom.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like it. I'm actually getting to the point now that I'm enjoying, enjoying doing the self tapes because I never used to like it. But now that I am more familiar with it and had enough time with it, I feel like it's growing. At least my confidence in what I'm putting out is better than what it used to be. So
For me, it's better. I mean, I enjoy it, but also because I have two kids,
yeah,
I have to put food on the table as well.
yep,
Like I have to work, right?
Mhm.
So the convenience of being able to do my self tapes at night after my kids are asleep and not have to worry about whether I can drive down to Toronto or not from where I live,
Mhm.
which is like 30 minutes away and no traffic and an hour and a half on bad traffic, sometimes 2 hours. Like I used to have to turn down auditions like prior to the pandemic.
yeah.
Now I haven't turned down a single audition since auditions started again during the pandemic.
Oh wow, well, fantastic.
So it's nice to be in person. Like I enjoy it, but it's hard. It's hard to do that. I'm kind of glad that we are self-taping a lot.
Yeah, no, it is convenient, and also it's nice that you can, you know, you put forward the audition you want to put forward. It's not, if you fumble something or you mess up the first one, you don't get, none of that's part of it. You can just put out what you want to put out. So it is handy that way.
Hopefully, one of these days I can have you in one of my short films. Like
I would love to.
My company, Psychopomp Dreams Entertainment. We're newer, so
Mhm.
we have one like official debut film called Fishbowl. It's on the festival circuit right now. We also have another one called Hunting Darkness, but it was made prior to the formation of the company. It's still technically our film, and it is on the festival circuit, but we don't really consider it like our debut film. But we are we're filming another one in May called Relevant. I'm one of the leads in that, so I'm really excited.
That sounds awesome.
But, one of these days, I hope to be able to have you.
Anytime. I would love the opportunity. That would be amazing.
Or we can meet halfway to record an episode of Hellbound, and the horror would be just me taking bumps from you.
Sounds good.
40-something-year-old me basically die on a mat.
I do run wrestling shows out here when they're starting up again in March. So if you want to come down, I can do a whole day just bumping you around.
Nice. I've always wanted to try pro wrestling, but I don't have the athleticism. So,
well, as age bears on, as I mentioned, I'm 37. It makes me wonder how long, get an expiration date. As much as anyone else does, and it's a cost benefit analysis of how hurt I want to be in my day-to-day life anymore. So I'm still digging it. I'm still healthy, strong, and everything's good. But I feel like I've had more days behind me than ahead of me, I think, at this point. So, but
I want to pull a PJ Fresh Phil. You know who PJ Fresh Phil is, right? From
no.
YTV.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So he's Phil Guerrero. He's actually in the same. He's part of the roster of my agency, and he just started pro wrestling, and he's like 50,
Nice. Oh man, that's
but
great.
like he's in he's like, he's a thin Asian, but like he's in decent shape, and he's learning really fast.
Mm.
He already holds a tag team title.
Oh wow.
But I mean, he's a celebrity, so
Yeah,
like
yeah, that helps.
I know why they're doing it and why he has it, and why he has his partner carries a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
like Phil does his best, right? Like at his age and at his skill level.
Well, that's often a way to get people involved, like when they're starting out, is to throw them in a tag team, because then it's like it is a different type of psychology and a different type of wrestling, but it also, you can have, if they're partnered with a good partner, you can have someone that can cover that while you're learning. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that seems to make sense for what they're doing.
So I want to I always thought, I was like, okay, if Phil can do it when I'm 50, I'm just going to take some classes. Hopefully I'll be famous enough, not like mega famous, but like well known enough that I'll be like a attraction for a single show. I'll do
Yeah,
one show and probably regret it and then quit.
perfect. Well, thanks,
Just
Michael.
to say I've done
Yeah. I like that idea. Just one, done.
it. And I don't need to win. Like I will totally do the job for whoever needs to beat a celebrity to get booed, to get heat.
Perfect. Yeah, just go with the full Hollywood heel character. That's all you got to do. Awesome.
As long as I'm not Logan Paul, so
Oh yeah. Well, actually, you know what? As much as I hate to admit it, he's actually a good wrestler.
he's
Um,
he's surprisingly good. I don't
he's
like
quite.
him as a
He's
person,
very.
but
No, me
no
neither. But
offense, Logan. But I don't know what you're like in real life, but your online persona is you're problematic. Anyways,
yeah, for sure. But hey, like as athleticism,
holy
you can't
crap, you
deny
put
it.
into work.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, you can't deny it. I mean, you got to. I can see why they would book a guy like that, because he's athletic. I mean, he's already doing the boxing thing anyway, and he's already got a huge fan base behind him. So it just.
I find it weird that people don't. I think again, it's because of his personality online, but like him and his brother, they're not bad boxers.
No, no. I
Like,
mean, I'm not a boxing expert, but no, the record is pretty decent actually.
and it's not just a record. Like, I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, they suck." I'm like, guys, come on. First of all, most of their matches are not. They're not going against the absolute best people in the planet, except that Mayweather one. Although I have questions about how whether Mayweather even tried.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, there's the same relationship with wrestling fans as well. It's like, and as a wrestler, I've seen it, and the people that say these things are the people that have never, the people that critique their boxing has never taken a punch in their life or never actually boxed
Yeah,
anybody. It's like people that shit on wrestlers and like, oh, this thing sucks. It's like I can't see you doing that. So
yeah.
like it's
Take a
just
single bump and let's see how. I remember this. You've heard of this one about the Big Show, right? Some guy at his gym would like mock him until
Mhm,
one day he's like, "You want to take one slam from me and see how you like it?"
mhm.
Yeah, and guy takes one slam, he becomes the biggest Big Show fan.
People think it's a trampoline and it doesn't hurt and it's all fake. And no, man, I got the injuries to prove it's not. So stuff happens.
Yeah,
It's I mean, fake. The term fake, I mean, is problematic in its own right, but the idea that like as a improvisational stage like show with athleticism, realistic fighting, and all these things that can go wrong that all happen on the fly with no safety net.
yeah,
It takes a great deal of not just athleticism but creativity to come up with engaging stories to tell in
absolutely.
matches, and it's an insane amount of work
Yeah,
that a lot of people don't really understand. So,
yeah, and for
um,
Logan to like pivot from, I remember when I saw him ages ago doing those vines where he would tap
oh
someone in the
boy.
back and then do the splits,
Mm.
and then the person will turn around, there's no one there. Like that's where my first exposure to Logan Paul. And I'm like, okay, this guy's pretty funny. And then next thing I know, he's like this big YouTube guy. And he pivots into boxing and then pivots into pro wrestling and is actually decent at it. Like credit where credit is due.
Hmm.
He needs to be commended for being, So, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, malleable. Like he's very,
Well, he's talented,
yeah, and experimental
definitely
too.
talented. He's very smart.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
And
Like a lot of these people, based on what they do, you wouldn't think they'd be intelligent people because it's like, well, they make YouTube videos, but get to the level of skill that some of these people get to, or level of success they get to, they need to put a lot of thought into it and a lot of
yeah,
creativity.
he's ambitious.
Yeah.
Hella ambitious.
Yeah, and it's paid off for him for sure.
It reminds me of a lot of like Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. A lot of people don't realize how much stuff he does aside from like a lot of
Outside.
humanitarian stuff. He like a lot of Bitcoin stuff. Like he's in and a lot of tech, investing in tech, like experimental
Yeah.
tech that
And
paid
he
off
did
for him. Like
Punked.
yeah, yeah.
Right?
And now he's on the '90s show on Netflix. So it's like he's he invests his money well and knows what he's doing. So
Or even Ryan Seacrest, like holy
know what?
crap, he produces a lot.
Not to go on too side of a tangent, but did you see the movie Vengeance, the one that BJ Novak did that came out this last year? He's like a guy that does a podcast about a girl that he slept with one time that was murdered in her small town, and
No.
like the family thinks that he's her boyfriend because her number was in his phone or something. And
I didn't see that. No.
Kutcher's in it in a small role, but he's fantastic. Like his character and how he plays it is fantastic. So I can't, and I never really faulted his acting because I haven't seen him in a ton of stuff. But that movie turned me around to say like this guy can pretty much do anything if he wants to. He's really really good in it. I'd suggest the movie actually. It's very interesting and a good commentary on our obsession with celebrity and these sort of murder podcasts that are really popular right now. So. Cool. Anyway, I shouldn't take any more of your time. I know you have other stuff to do, but thank you so much, Michael, for being on the show. And hopefully, I'll see you on the Hellbound podcast. Soon.
Yeah.
Tell your partner, or if you're organizing people on, just let me know, and we'll come up the time because I'd love to do it.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Perfect. Thanks again.
No, thank you. Take care.
And there it is, my conversation with Michael Chan. Thank you very much for tuning in. Great talk. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed doing it. Mike's a very cool guy. A lot of insight into the acting process. I never thought about tailoring your roles to go after something that you were interested in as far as getting that role, and that's something I didn't really think about approaching it in that sort of, laying out a groundwork, like a map to how you're going to get somewhere, a plan, if you will. And I hadn't thought about approaching a career in acting that way. It's always been a dream of mine to be an actor, and I have achieved it somewhat, but I've never achieved it on a level like Michael has, or to any sort of, major stardom besides a role in the movie, which I discuss a lot in the show. It's funny when you listen to podcasts, others, and even your own, you hear yourself talk the same stories over and over again or bring up the same things. Kind of makes you hate them a little bit, and yourself for being predictable. But, because of all that, it was interesting talking with him, a fellow journeyman actor trying to make it in this world. So, gave me some insight, and maybe you as well if you're thinking about going into a role in acting. Perhaps Michael gave you some insight into that as well. Maybe a plan you can make yourself on how to get there. Anyway, we will be back in 2 weeks with our next episode. Still ironing out the details in that one. I always like to be able to give you who that guest will be right now. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work out. A few irons in the fire that will be worked out by that time, but just keep an eye on social media. I will announce it, or I may announce it, as I often do, on my other podcast, the sister podcast of the show, I call it, only because I am in both. And that is X-Rated, the X-Men Anime Review Show, in which Davin Skelhorn and I discuss the X-Men animated series from Fox from the 90s. We have people that were on the show, voice actors, animators, writers, and we discuss it and talk. We watch each episode, discuss it. Sometimes we take breaks where we talk to people involved in it. But otherwise, it's a fun show celebrating a cartoon that was a big part of both of our childhoods and a lot of people's childhoods. And, worthwhile show. Still great. You look back on these things with the lens of nostalgia. And they're not as good as you think they are, but for what it was and for the time it came out, it was pretty groundbreaking as far as comic book adaptations go. Being true to the source material and also bringing something interesting with a voice, with something to say. And X-Men has always been ripe for social commentary, and the show doesn't shy away from that, which is cool. So tune into that. It's every Tuesday night. We do a live taping, in which that's streamed live when we do it, but then the audio ones are available wherever you get your podcasts as well. So tune into that as well. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, read comics, read books, read anything, watch movies, have fun, live life, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. The Graphic Histories Podcast is a proud partner of the United Federation of Podcasts.